Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for joining us for this week's edition of In the Blender. And this week we're very lucky to be joined by Dr. Rosina McAlpine, who's an award-winning author. She's a parent, an educator, researcher, and also CEO of Win-Win Parenting. Now, Win-Win Parenting supports time-poor, busy, working parents effectively navigate the work-family interface so they can succeed at home and at work. And I'm sure that a lot of you are in the same boat. Parents learn practical strategies to manage day-to-day parenting challenges like struggles with technology, emotional outbursts, and keeping calm even in the most volatile of situations. Dr. Rosina appears regularly in the media, and her innovative evidence-based parenting programs support parents working across a variety of corporations, universities, and government organisations locally and internationally. So what we'll do now, let's welcome Dr. Rosina in, and anyone who is on board watching us live, let's see if I can just push the right button here. Oh, hang on. There we go. All right, so I can see a couple of you have joined us. If you can let us know if you can hear us loud and clear. Let us know where you might be listening to us from, and everybody show Dr. Rosina some love. Hello. Gotta love technology. This connection is much better than last week when I was hotspotting in a laneway. I've now found a cafe in town with excellent Wi-Fi. So thank you, Dr. Rosina, for joining us. We've got you for the next half hour. It's an absolute pleasure. I was saying earlier, it feels a little bit like I'm talking to a celebrity. You've been, you deal with huge companies. You've had that much media. I felt really nervous ahead of today because I thought, geez, I hope I don't bugger it up, basically. So, okay, let's see who we've got. I can see we've got Emma on board with us. Oh, I think I've just, hang on 2 seconds. Don't know, you can see a little bit of fuzziness on my camera. I'm not sure what that is. But joining us currently, we've got Emma Fraser. So she runs a marketing organisation, Fraser Marketing International. And we've also got Sharon Atwood. Hello, Sharon. Welcome, everybody. Okay, now I'm going to start with some easy questions for you, Rosina. I have thrown in a few that weren't pre-planned, so I'm going to go off script, but that's okay. I'm sure, in your line of work, you're used to that. And then we'll hand over to anyone who is watching us at home, and if they've got any questions that spring up, we'll bring those up too. Yeah. Okay. Have you always been in business and an entrepreneur? That's the first one. I think that's an easy one for you.
It's a very easy one, and the answer is a big no. Oh. So I started life as an academic, and I worked at the University of New South Wales, and I finished my 30-year academic career at the University of Sydney before I was an associate professor there, before I decided to take the plunge and become a full-time entrepreneur and be the CEO of Win-Win Parenting. So no, most of my life has been an academic in the business school, doing research and teaching.
I didn't expect that at all. I see your long history, and I thought, Dr. Rosina is an entrepreneur through and through. She's been doing this for a million years. Okay, so Win-Win Parenting, which I know you're the CEO of, and proudly full-time CEO, which I think is, for a lot of us watching at home, that's the dream, to go and work for yourself full-time. So if you could let us know a little bit about the origins of Win-Win Parenting and how it all came to be.
So the way it came about was I thought I was going to be an academic forever, really. That was my kind of life trajectory. But then at the age of 43, I became a mum.
Really?
So met the love of my life, and we had a baby. And right from that very first day, I got conflicting advice. So I'm in the hospital, my baby's 4 hours old, and one nurse is telling me to feed Cameron every 4 hours, and one nurse is telling me to feed him on demand. And as a new mother, that was so confusing. I was like, oh, this is too hard. And then I got home, and everybody seemed to have advice about letting the baby scream to sleep, or not letting them cry to sleep. So I thought, hang on a sec, I'm an academic. I've got the research skills, I'm going to find out. So I started interviewing experts from all over the world and finding out everything about babies, raising them, and I wrote a book called Inspired Children, How the Leading Minds of Today Raise Their Kids. So that was kind of the origins, and then it sort of grew and grew and grew. People read the book and went, they wanted more, and then I started a blog, and that was, you know, and then after that I started writing programs, and then after that I realised that companies really need some support when it comes to working parents. We know what it's like to try and manage that work-life interface, and my research area was around gender equality. It was around how can we support work-life interface and do well, and then it was like an epiphany, and win-win parenting was born. I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help working parents. I'm going to help companies help their working parents, and that's how Win-Win started, and that was back in 2015.
What is the biggest struggle that you see companies dealing with all the time when they're trying to support their working families?
So I guess I'm going to talk from personal experience, and the big thing is, you know, you want to follow your passion, but you also want to look after your family. So for many, many years, we bootstrapped the business by me working full time.
I know that story. Yep.
Yeah, and you know, I've got a wonderful husband and a really supportive child. He's amazing. He loves everything about win-win parenting. Big fan of it because he knows that the origins were him. He gets it. So
he lets you work around the clock. My 4-year-old does not do that.
So he loves it. He loves being part of it. So, you know, we work together, and he, you know, if I'm working on something, he'll sit next to me. So at the moment I'm writing another book, and he said, Mummy, if I write something, can it go in your book? And I'm like, yes, of course it can. So when I do videos, he does videos. When I do writing, he does writing. So I guess the reason why I'm saying that is a lot of parents feel guilty and go, oh, I'm following my passion. Is that, you know, taking away from my child? And the truth is, I really believe it's inspirational, and he's really following the dream with me. He loves it. He loves being part of the entrepreneurial journey, and he gets it all, really. So he's 10 now and loves being part of it.
That was my next question. How old is this magical child of yours? Okay.
Yeah, he's 10, and yeah, I realized the first time that I realized that by being inspirational leaders to our children, we do give them a role model to aspire to. And I remember feeling guilty, like, you know, all those late nights and sometimes being away from home, like when I'm traveling and, you know, delivering programs in Melbourne or Adelaide or Brisbane, I'm not home, you know, and it's just a Skype call. But I remember one day Cameron going, Daddy, film me. And this was many years ago when he would have been 4 or 5. And Colin's like, why? Why do you want to be filmed? And he said, well, Mummy does videos to help parents be good parents, and I want to do a video to help children eat good vegetables and eat, you know, good healthy food. So he was there chopping up herbs and miting them and telling people to try. And, you know, it brought a tear to my eye because it just showed me, you know, I'm opening a whole new world to him, that he can become an entrepreneur, that he can think like that right from tiny, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lovely story, and I do worry about that personally. You know, when I get home and I've got my 5-day-a-week job, and I try not to work too much when I'm around my son because I feel bad. And then you know, there'll be days where I'm not working, and he'll say, you know, I might say I just want to go to bed, I'm tired, and he'll say, no, you can't, Mum. It's bub desk work. It's like, you know, he's 4 and he talks about bub desk all the time. It's like, oh,
there you
dear.
go. So you do understand,
Yeah, I do understand. I like to hear someone saying, don't feel bad about it.
No, and I think the key thing is to have that balance. And Cameron and I have lots of special time together, and we also have, you know, time when it's work time, and so he can sit right beside me and we can do our work together, or we can spend special time together. And do you know what? It doesn't take much. Like, he might just go, let's have a quick game of cards, or go outside and throw a ball to each other or something, and then you can come back in. So it's not like either or, it can mix it all up. And I think that's the key, being really flexible, having a bit of time for this and a bit of time for that, and it all sort of works.
Yeah, the blend, we call it. Blending it all together.
The blend.
Now, you've worked with a number of really big companies. I saw you've worked with Google, you worked with Red Balloon, HSBC, you know, all these monstrous companies that when you're in startup phase, it's sort of the dream. You know, one day you're going to crack the big time and one of these big companies is going to want to work with me. And I would love to know, you know, how long into your journey of entrepreneurship did you finally get one of these big clients on board? And was it just sheer persistence, or did you know someone, or was it luck? You know, how, I guess, just a bit of advice to the rest of us who maybe haven't cracked the big time on how we can possibly get our foot in the door would be awesome.
Yeah, so for me, it's about all of those different things. So different companies came in different ways. So you've talked about every different one. But what I think the big thing is to have a clear vision of what you want. I'm really clear about that. If you know what it is, what you want, you will take the steps to go towards it. Now, those large companies, I started back in 2015, and the way I started was, first of all, I used to do talks for various professional bodies. So I'd done some for, you know, CPA Australia, which has people in a lot of different companies. So by doing, you know, talks for professional associations that have lots of different members, and I did a lot of those, straight after that, people would come up and go, oh, I loved that program. Do you go into corporates? What do you do? So that's one way, do talks. The second way is who you know. It's definitely who you know.
I don't know that many people.
and be surprised how you'll know them. So one day I got invited, and this is how I got into Red Balloon. I got invited to introduce Naomi at a session. And so I looked her up and I, you know, found out her bio. And then before I had to introduce her, I was sitting next to her and I said, I'm a startup. Here's my book.
Take the opportunity when you can get it. Yep, perfect. I love it.
Company, right? So I think it's really about who you know to get into different places. And, you know, it might just be someone in an organisation that can get you to the HR or to the right person or to procurement or to the right manager, taking those introductions, doing talks, do talks. Talks gets you out there, and take opportunities. Like, don't be frightened, just do it, take those opportunities. And that's basically what I've done. And little by little, of course, once you've got one, then you go, hey, I did this, and this company's already got me, and that really does snowball you. There is no doubt about it. As I got more and more companies on board, I got more and more companies on board, because it's easy to go, oh, I've already done Lendlease, HSBC, ABC, you know, chartered accountants, da, da, da. As soon as you do that, they're like, oh, well, if they thought you were good enough, well, we think you're good enough too. So yes, all of those strategies.
I'm off to volunteer myself to CPA Australia. Perfect.
Yeah. And then there's the Law Society. You know what I mean? Like, you know, all the different
good. Go and be a guest speaker at every single event I can find.
Correct.
Yep. Right. Got it. Now, on a similar note, is your media coverage. I mean, you've had all these media appearances, and did that come about after you started working with the big companies, or was that more around the launch of your book? You know, I guess in what order did it happen, and how did you get the media? Did you send press releases all over town, or, you know, did you hire an agency? Tell me your secrets.
So media wants good content. So my blog is full of really good content, and I have got lots of great media connections now, because when they say, I'm running a story tomorrow, can you give me? I just go, yes, stay up all night and hand as much as I can over. So what that's meant is, and it does snowball. So I've got quite a few reporters that I know now that rely on me, and they even rely on me for things that are not parenting now because they know I'm a connector and I can find somebody. So get in good with your reporters, anybody that you can, and give them what they want. They love short quotes, they love research, so all of those things. That then, sometimes those articles led to radio interviews. So they go, oh, I saw your article in the, and then I'd get on radio. And then the radio interviews led to news reports and TV. So it really is about good content and being really responsive. So that's how that came about.
Was a lot of, out of curiosity, was a lot of your content written after you launched the business, or have you been working on content, having been a researcher, you just had this stockpile of stuff?
So it's about just regularly writing new content, and part of the way that I started with my content was doing exactly what you're doing. I would interview experts from all over the world. It's a really good place to start, and then extracting the key messages and then being able to put that as a blog post. So you've got to be using your content cleverly. So I have to do research. I do webinars, lots of webinars. So, you know, I'll do webinars on, you know, technology and children, or self-esteem, or, you know, work-life interface, managing that. So now I have to do a lot of research for that. So then it's easy to repurpose that. So I do it for my talks, for my webinars, for my blog posts, for my social media posts. It's being really clever with your content, but it is all about content, because the only reason why anyone's going to want to listen to you, want to become part of your programs, have you in their organisation, is because you've got something important and valuable to share that can make a difference in people's lives.
Do you still set time aside each week to work on content?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Oh,
well, one of the
really?
things,
Maybe I should do that.
absolutely. So, for example, you know, right now you're interviewing me, and what are the insights that you've got so far out of what we've been talking about? What are the insights?
Well, that I need to go and, well, there's so many, but I need to go and enlist myself for as many talks as I can present to. Groups, go and find all the bodies. I need to not give myself a hard time about, you know, working on business when I've also got a day job around my child. There's so many.
Right, so that's
knock-on
content.
effects of, yeah.
That's content, see?
Should I turn each one of those into its own, turn each one into its own blog?
Correct. That's exactly right. So you say, today I interviewed Dr. Rosina McAlpine from Win-Win Parenting, and here's what I learned. And this might help you.
Excellent.
There you go. So
good.
You haven't wasted your time. So it's all about that content and the repurposing. And if there's one, you know, special bit that you go, you know what, that was just magic what she said. That was golden. It was such a light bulb. You then tweet that, or you Facebook that, you know, so you're using the same content over and over again, or you might create a program out of it, whatever it is that you know, so that's what I'm saying. Be content smart. But the reason why I get away with it is I love to learn. I can learn about anything.
And write about it.
And write about it. So, and don't be too hard on yourself initially. You know, get the words down and don't be so fussy. Like when I look at my blog posts, you know, 10 years ago to now, they're very different, but they got me to here. And that's all that matters. Little by little by little.
And I guess, you know, you haven't been in business really that long. 2015, you said you launched, which is just amazing, I think, what you've accomplished in such a short space of time. But during the last few years, what would you say is the biggest piece of advice from lessons you've learned that you can give to fellow entrepreneurs?
I know that this has held me in such good stead, and it's just worked for me. So I've got a really big vision. Like, it's huge. My vision is to change the world of parenting. That's what my vision is, to empower parents with the skills that they need to feel really confident as parents, not confused, have great information, not feel guilty, but go, you know what? I know what to do about technology. I know what to do when it comes to healthy eating. I know what to do, you know? That's my vision. That's my mission. And I'd love that to be worldwide. And right now, I have quite a good presence in Australia, but I'm hoping to launch in the US and the UK in years to come. Now, I've had that vision for a long time, right from when I wrote Inspired Children. And visions are really important because they give you something to strive for. You know, I want to change the world. I want to help parents because I can see the difference I've made. But all I can do is what I can do today. And I've been doing little by little by little. So my first step was interviewing people who knew. My second step was writing a book. My third step was starting a blog. My fourth step was writing some programs. Then my fifth step was, starting a company. My sixth step was, do you see what I mean? Getting some media. So it's like, for entrepreneurs, this is the key. Imagine that you've set yourself that you want to drive from Sydney to Perth, like me going from here to world-known win-win parenting, right? And you put it in the GPS, and that's a really long way away. But all I have to know is the next street. I don't have to know how to get to Perth. I know it's there, and I know I'll get there, but I just have to know this turn, the next turn, the next turn, the next turn. And so for me, it's been have a big vision, but take small steps every day, even if it's a phone call or a list or, you know, contacting someone to interview, whatever it is. And then don't let any obstacles stand in your way. This is huge. This is the biggest one. A lot of people go, oh, these obstacles are signs. It mustn't be for me. I disagree. I absolutely disagree. Every single obstacle in my years of, 10 years of doing this has actually made me better. Every single one has made me pivot till I've got to here. And I know I'm going to have so many more obstacles, but now I see it as honing me to be better and better and better.
Oh, that's awesome. And I guess, I think something you would have dealt with quite a bit would have been, because I think we all do, even if you do manage to stay on track with your big vision in mind, but it's that self-doubt, around whether or not you actually can achieve it. And, was this just a dream? Maybe I should just park it now and go back to what I was doing before. And it's really hard when you have those moments of negativity and when the people around you can be very negative, especially if it's family that you live with and people who don't want to see you fail. So taking all that into consideration, how have you dealt with negativity in the past?
So I'm going to answer that in two different ways. And I think, first of all, in terms of, myself and then other people. So the first thing is, when I first decided to write a book about parenting, you can imagine an academic who had a history of academia. Who's going to listen to me? That was my first thought. Who cares about what I've got to say about parenting, right? So what I did was I got the experts and I thought, that's okay. I'm just going to retell what they say. So that's okay. So that sort of allowed me to overcome that obstacle. I realized very soon after that, after learning from all those experts, I actually was the expert. Like, it's pretty clear. Do you know what I mean? Like, the psychologists knew about psychology and the biologists knew about biology and the neuroscientists knew about neuroscience, but I knew it all. I knew the whole lot. So again, it's just those little steps. Whenever you've got a doubt, to go, all right, well, what can I do to overcome that? What can I do to let go of that doubt? And I've always believed that if you've got the vision, it's meant for you and you're meant to achieve it. Why would you get it? Why would you get a vision that you're never meant to achieve? That makes no sense whatsoever. If someone else had my vision, they'd be achieving it, but they didn't get it. I got it. It's my vision, so I'm sticking to it.
That is excellent advice. I love that. It's something, people say to me often, oh, why don't you consult? You've got all this knowledge and IP. Why don't you sell it? And I always think, oh, I don't know enough. I'm just not at the stage where I would feel confident really in being able to sell my skills by the hour. And I'd love to know how you overcome that, but maybe it's just time.
So there's quite a few things. And the first one is obviously time. The second thing is, as you hone your skills more and more, and especially as you write them down, like, I'm writing my next book at the moment, and it was a daunting task because, I'm going to get to I need about 60,000 words. And within 3 weeks, I've written 27,000. And so I'm like, maybe I do know more than I think I know. I can get this done pretty quickly. So for me, it's about proving it to yourself. So why not sit down, write it all down and see what you know, share it with others, get their feedback and see what they say. But the big thing is you've got a choice. I can think I'm not good enough, or I can think I am good enough, right? So why not think I am good enough? Like, which one's going to give you a better outcome? And I love that saying, you know, if you believe you can, you can. And if you believe you can't, you're right, you can't. So why not believe you can?
Yeah, that's good. And the negativity, I know we've gone over time. Are you still okay for time? My
Sure.
technical issues kind of stole a few minutes, I'm afraid.
Sure.
So have you had any negative people in your life, close to you, family, or anyone you live with?
Yeah, absolutely. And usually it comes not from intentions of meanness, it comes from fear. It's like, you know, they project their own fears on you, or they're fearful for you to fail, you know. And the way I look at it is every single thing that happens in your life, you look back when you're a tiny baby and you start crawling and then you get up and you fall down, you get up and you fall down. Well, we don't go, oh, okay, you fell down 3 times. I think you better not walk. Walking, totally not for you, right? You've tried 3 times. You know, no walking for you. And I think that's what it is. People are fearful of falling down. People are fearful of people failing. But in actual fact, if you look at any of the entrepreneurs, if you have a look, you know, like my inspirations of the Richard Bransons and the Oprahs of today, you know, you look back at their paths, you read their biographies, and they had failure, you know, what you would call failure after failure after failure, but they pivoted and pivoted and pivoted and overcame and overcame and overcame. And that's the thing. If you never give up, you cannot fail. You cannot fail. You can only fail if you give up. So never give up. It's simple.
Until you just fall exhausted in a heap and can't do it anymore.
Yeah, and you will have days like that. That's true. There will be days like that. And I still have my days where I question. But when there's people that are negative, and, you know, I always just go, thank you for your care. Thank you for your love. I so appreciate that you care for me so much that you don't want me to fail. But I just want to let you in on a secret. I'm not scared of failing. I'm okay. I've failed so many times in the past, and I've gotten up bigger and better than Ben-Hur, right? So thanks for your love, but don't worry about me. You're wasting your energy on worrying about me. So that's the way I deal with negativity.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well, I've got time for just 2 more questions. I'm going to squeeze them in there. I know you've got, you know, a world to conquer, and I've got a day job to go back to. So, with family and business and startup and, you know, still having a day job, what has been the biggest challenge that you found of trying to blend that all together?
I think it's making sure that you know that old story of, you know, when you've got a jar and you've got big rocks and you got little rocks, you know, and then the sand, you know, you fill with the big rocks. So I've just got to the point in my life where I always take the weekends off. It's very rare that I work on the weekends. Cameron and I and Colin do golf, we do walks, we go bike riding to rejuvenate myself. And then there are times when I just have to work really hard, and that's what I do. But I just try and make sure that I do the big things, you know, take care of myself, take care of my son, take care of my husband, and make sure I've got time for family and friends who mean the world to me. So that's how I manage it all. Just don't sweat the small stuff. Like, you know what, maybe you didn't get all the washing done this week. Maybe the bathroom doesn't look as clean as it should be. Maybe you didn't get to go to all the birthday parties that you would have liked to have gone to. But you can feel good because you did the big things. So do the big things and then squeeze whatever else you can in around that. That would be my advice, because I don't regret whatever I do. I make a choice and then I do it. There's no regret after that.
Did you start out that way, or did you find it a challenge in the beginning?
No, I definitely didn't. But what I realized was I wasn't doing myself a favor. I was kind of stretching it at both ends. I would do everything except self-care. That was the big one. So I would do everything for my son, everything for my partner, my husband, everything for work, you know, both works, the business work and my full-time job. And then I realized I was bedraggled. There was nothing left of me, you know, in the end. So when I started to just put that balance back in where there was time for self-care, time by myself, and you know, one of the things that I do annually, and it's just so rejuvenating, is I take myself off for a retreat every year by myself, just to really rethink what I'm going to do, rejuvenate, take time for myself. So, yeah, it wasn't always like that, but I realised doing the other does not work. You do not go further down the path. It's like, you know, driving your car and not putting petrol in and not getting supplies and not doing all that. So what? You might get somewhere, but in one, you know, then you're going to run out of fuel and you're going to be in the middle of nowhere and it's not going to work. So, yeah, I would absolutely say self-care, big rocks, family, child, and then anything else, well, good luck if you get that done.
That is such fantastic advice, Rosina, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you this half hour. We're out of time, and I could just keep asking you questions for another hour and a half, I think. So much more that we could go into. You know, we created the In the Blender series to talk to women that we saw who are really inspirational in the way that they blend career and business and family, and you know, it often looks like an overnight success, and I think, you know, we just don't realize that it never is, you know. We just think, oh my God, we're in the trenches, this is so bloody hard, how did all these other people get there so fast? But
yeah,
you know, your story is absolutely fascinating.
Well, that's what they say. Overnight successes usually happen over a period of 5 to 10 years, right?
Yeah. So much for my 3-month projection.
Yeah. And one of the things that we haven't talked about, which I'm very happy to do another time, is just getting that parenting support. What is the right approach? What's the way to go about parenting that makes you feel good as a parent and is good for kids? And that's why I called it win-win parenting. Good for parents, good for kids, and good for business. And so we haven't even touched on that for all those parents out there who are trying to, you know, be good parents, you know, be their personal best, plus do great at work and do, you know, well at home. So I'm very happy to chat with you about what is win-win parenting down the track.
Terrific. I will definitely rebook some of your time. And I'm just looking at a couple of the comments that have come in here. So Susie was watching. She says, a very interesting talk today. We've been doing this for a few weeks and she loved it. Oh, great stuff from Kate. So we've had a couple of listeners at home. I'm sorry to anyone who might have had a question. We just ran out of time today thanks to technical difficulties.
Have we got time for one question?
We got time. Yes, I could squeeze in one question if there's anyone there who's got one right now and can type it really fast. While they do that, I'll just we'll pause on that for 10 seconds and see if any come through.
Well, we've got a comment.
Yeah.
Please do another live about how to be a win-win parent. We'll totally have to do that.
Okay, done. And we will. I'll edit this video. It will go onto YouTube once I've chopped out the bit where I just dropped off for 3 minutes. And we'll definitely add links to win-win parenting. And I'm guessing your blog is also available online for people to read some of this marvelous content.
Yeah. Yep. At drrosina.com. drrosina.com.
drrosina.com. Okay, and that one's there from Susie. Please do another live about how to be a win-win parent. Done. That's a whole episode in itself. Okay, well, that we really are out of time now. I'm sure.
We have got one. It says, is it possible to have a balance that doesn't end up with a mother feeling guilty some of the time?
Oh, okay. We'll squeeze that one in too, Susie. Have you got time for that one?
Thanks, Suzanne. Look, this is the way I look at it. If you sit down and make a choice, so that's what you have to do. You have to go, okay, what am I going to do right now? What is my big rock? Is my big rock reading a bedtime story to my child and then going off and typing till midnight? Or is my big rock actually putting someone else in charge of putting my child to bed tonight, right? But once you've made that choice, guilt doesn't make any sense. Do you see what I mean? So Once you make a choice, just commit to it and let go of the guilt, because that's the best choice you can make in the moment. Does that help?
No. Oh, she's probably typing out her response right now. That's okay. Yeah. Well, can't see it there yet, but that's okay. I'm sure there will be a lot of comments that go into the thread afterwards. So if you'd like to jump onto our Facebook page, Dr. Rosina, and see if there are any comments in there, I'm sure there might be some answers you can give after the show. Now, I am going to, once I say goodbye to everyone, it is going to cut you off, I'm afraid, but okay. I'll give you a buzz afterwards. Thank you so much, Dr. Rosina, and we will talk to you again at some stage soon when we can lock down some more of your time.
It's been a pleasure. Bye, everyone. Thanks for your great comments. Bye. And thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, guys, so you're back with me for a couple of seconds. Thank you very much for joining us. Next week, we're going to be talking to Serena O'Neill, who is, I believe, one of Perth's best virtual assistants. But as well as being a VA, she's also a mum. She also has a day job. She also designs jewellery. And we're going to be chatting to her about, what is a virtual assistant? What can you get from them? What can they do for you? What do they cost? And on the other end of the spectrum, if you're contemplating being a virtual assistant, what that looks like. So once again, thanks very much. Don't forget to jump onto the Facebook page and register your details if you'd like a reminder ahead of next week's In the Blender. Happy blending.